Black women played an important part in the war, especially toward the end. Sojourner Truth, the legendary ex-slave who had been active in the women's rights movement, became recruiter of Black troops for the Union Army, as did Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin of Boston. Harriet Tubman raided plantations, leading Black and white troops, and in one expedition freed 750 slaves. Women moved with the colored regiments that grew as the Union Army marched through the South, helping their husbands enduring terrible hardships on the long military treks in which many children died. It has been said that Black acceptance of slavery is proved by the fact that during the Civil War, when there were opportunities for escape, most slaves stayed on the plantation. In fact, 500,000 ran away, about 1 in 5, a high proportion when one considers that there was great difficulty in knowing where to go and how to live. The owner of a large plantation in South Carolina and Georgia wrote in 1862, "This war has taught us the perfect impossibility of placing the least confidence in the Negro. In too numerous instances, those we esteemed the most have been the first to desert us." That same year, a lieutenant in the Confederate Army and once mayor of Savannah, Georgia, wrote, "I deeply regret to learn that the Negroes still continue to desert to the enemy." The American government had set out to fight the slave states in 1861, not to end slavery, but to retain the enormous national territory and market and resources. Money. It was always about money. Yet victory required a crusade, and the momentum of that crusade brought new forces into national politics. More Blacks determined to make their freedom mean something. More whites, whether Freedmen's Bureau's officials or teachers in the Sea Islands or carpetbaggers, with various mixtures of humanitarianism and personal ambition concerned with racial equality. There was also the powerful interest of the Republican Party in maintaining control over the government, with the prospect of Southern Black votes to accomplish this. Northern businessmen, seeing Republican policies as beneficial to them, went along for a while. The result was that brief period after the Civil War in which Southern Negroes voted, elected Blacks to state legislatures and to Congress, introduced free and racially mixed public education to the South. A legal framework was constructed. The 13th Amendment outlawed slavery, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime. Remember that, because there are parallels to the current prison system that are prompting people to say prison labor is slave labor. And when you think about the 13th Amendment saying neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as punishment for crime, that disclaimer is why a lot of people are saying that people in prison who are engaging in any kind of labor are slaves. It is something to think about. I think it is a very, very, very important thing to consider. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. The 14th Amendment repudiated the pre-war Dred Scott decision by declaring all persons born or naturalized in the United States were citizens. The 15th Amendment said, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude." And in 1875, a Civil Rights Act outlawed the exclusion of Negroes from hotels, theaters, railroads, and other public accommodations. With these laws, with the Union Army in the South as protection, and a civilian army of officials in the Freedmen's Bureau to help them, Southern Negroes came forward, voted, formed political organizations, and expressed themselves forcefully on issues important to them. They were hampered in this for several years by Andrew Johnson, vice president under Lincoln, who became president when Lincoln was assassinated at the close of the war. Johnson vetoed bills to help Negroes. He made it easy for Confederate states to come back into the Union without guaranteeing equal rights to Blacks. During his presidency, these returned Southern states enacted Black codes, which made the freed slaves like serfs, still working the plantations. For instance, Mississippi in 1865 made it illegal for freed men to rent or lease farmland and provided for them to work under labor contracts, which they could not break under penalty of prison. It also provided that the courts could assign Black children under 18 who had no parents or whose parents were poor to forced labor called apprenticeships with punishment for runaways.